Hello, my name is Donley, and I live in beautiful Bozeman, Montana. I'm a recent devCodeCamp full stack development graduate, and I spent the last decade in various professional roles in the outdoor industry. I started out as a camp counselor and trail guide, leading teams on multi-day canoeing and backpacking trips in the North Woods. I then volunteered as a mentor for Big Sky Youth Empowerment, which is a local organization that utilizes group therapy and wilderness experience to help at-risk and underserved youth find their strength in community and themselves. I've been a ski instructor at both Bridgeable and Big Sky, where I continue to develop my teaching and leadership skills. And I finally spent the last 3 years as a landscaper and project manager, where I ran teams and projects and managed properties for high-end landscapes all over southwestern Montana. During the course of this career, I realized how valuable my leadership and team skills were as I managed over 20 individual properties, as well as a large multi-property HOA. And I developed a strong eye for detail without losing sight of the big picture. Through this work, I also learned that I love to build useful things for the enjoyment of others, and I especially love to work on the intricate details of a landscape system from the perspective of resource management and conservation. Out here in the Mountain West, we are experiencing drought for longer and longer periods of the year, which made managing irrigation systems a very important part of my job. And I especially enjoyed this aspect, as well as the teaching opportunities it provided me and my crew. Unfortunately, I sustained a few injuries over the course of my career that made me consider the longevity of this path for me while I was out healing and attending physical therapy. As I had a lot of time to think about everything I'd learned, both my technical skills and my understanding of group dynamics and leadership, I realized that I could pursue something that was also challenging and stimulating, that incorporated all the things that I valued in my past experiences. One of my oldest friends that had taken devCodeCamp, the devCodeCamp course, and became a software developer, and she loved it. I spent weeks grilling her on the ins and outs of the industry, and I took a free intro to Java course to determine if coding was something that I'd enjoy. I spent my years at college studying Spanish and Latin American literature, and so I found that picking up a new language was right in my wheelhouse, and I decided that this was the career change I was looking for. Over the 12 weeks that I spent in the boot camp, I thought a lot about what I would like to do for my capstone project. And the person that I spent the most time talking it over with was my cousin, who is a pediatric home health physical therapist. She spends her days driving all over the Denver metro area, visiting her patients, and complained to me that she had to use so many different programs to keep track of everything. She had to use a map app to navigate to patient locations, a healthcare records app to find her patient information and track their progress, various spreadsheets to manage her schedule, patient load, certification periods, and another platform altogether to contact her patients. So from all of this, my idea for an app was born. I created a mobile healthcare management app that would combine all of the most important functions of her day-to-day during a 10-day sprint. On the back end, I built a Python Django REST framework API using my MySQL workbench and Postman to build and test database endpoints. On the front end, I created a React app using JavaScript and CSS for styling. I used FullCalendar IO, a JavaScript event calendar, to create the provider schedule. And I used GoogleMaps API to show the patient locations. Let's see, I will show you what I've got. So when you first go into the app, it takes you to the login page. I am already pre-logged in on another page, so I will just go straight there. This is the home page for the healthcare app. As you can see, I am logged in, and from here, you can see the patient list with their diagnosis, and you can go into add patient, which is where you can add all of the relevant patient information and create a new patient that will be added to your list. You can also go to your calendar, which is where everything in your daily schedule is managed. You can see here on the calendar, I have a few appointments for the day. And if I click on one of the appointments, it takes me to that patient's information. From here, this is kind of where all of the magic happens. You can add notes for your patient's visit for the day. And you can also track goals. So here today, I've got various goals to work on with the patient. Maintain a single leg balance for 15 seconds. Let's just say they did great at that today, and that goal is complete. You can also clock into the patient from this point, and you can also update the patient information. If I go back into the calendar here, you can see the Google Map window that shows all of the patient addresses for the visits for the day. A few hurdles that I encountered while working on this project. FullCalendar IO was by far the most challenging thing that I worked with during this project. The documentation, while thorough, was not adapted for JavaScript, so I had to spend quite a lot of time figuring out how to adapt it for my needs. I also spent quite a lot of time learning the GoogleMaps API. Their documentation was fantastic. It was very helpful. There were a lot of examples that I could go and look at, and I had a good time figuring out how to show everything that I wanted. In future sprints, I would like to add a component that tracks the provider's hours and also models their efficiency. So that would be time spent driving to and from patient houses, time spent on visits, actually treating the patient, and time spent on documentation. And from modeling that, I would like to give the provider a visual aid to show them their overall efficiency. I would also like to utilize the Google Maps geolocating functions in order to provide directions from each patient's house. That was something that I did a bit of research into while working on this in my initial sprint, but I didn't quite have time to get to. So that's something I'm looking forward to working on in the future. Thank you for watching. Again, my name is Catherine Donley, and I can't wait to start my new career.